Welcome the spicy ladies. A woman who walks alone is not lost. She is simply going where no one else dares. The Sigma female is not born into the mold of society's expectations. She breaks it. She does not seek approval, nor does she bend to the world's demands. She stands alone, not because she cannot belong, but because she chooses to walk her own path. This is not rebellion, it is evolution. For too long, women have been told they must fit into neat categories: the nurturer, the follower, the pleaser, but the Sigma female is none of these. She is her own leader, her own source of strength. She thrives in solitude, not because she despises others, but because she refuses to let the wrong people drain her energy. Her mind is sharp, her heart is guarded, and her presence is undeniable. But make no mistake, this path is not easy. It is lonely at times, misunderstood often, and rarely celebrated. People fear what they cannot control, and the Sigma female is untouchable. Yet, she does not exist to be feared. She exists to be free. To those who walk this road, know this: your evolution is your power. Every hardship has shaped you. Every betrayal has sharpened you. You are not the problem. You are the blueprint for a new kind of strength. Embrace your nature, refine your mind, and never shrink yourself to fit into a world too small for your spirit. The evolution is yours to own. Let's get started. The spicy ladies. Number 1, born an outlier, forged by fire. Most people assume solitude is a choice, something a person embraces when they tire of the world. But for the Sigma female, it was never about preference. It was about survival. From an early age, she sensed she was different. She thought deeper, observed more, questioned things others accepted without hesitation, and for that, she paid the price. People mistook her independence for arrogance, her silence for weakness, her refusal to conform for rebellion. She wasn't difficult. She simply saw through the games, the manipulation, the shallow expectations forced upon her. When she tried to fit in, she felt suffocated. When she chose to stand alone, she was labeled cold or too much. The truth? She was neither. She was simply unwilling to shrink herself to make others comfortable. Pain sharpened her. Betrayal taught her discernment. Loneliness became her training ground, not a prison. While others feared being alone, she learned to thrive in it. She mastered the art of self-reliance, of thinking for herself without seeking validation. The more she was rejected, the more she realized she never needed acceptance to begin with. Society glorifies the loud, the ones who beg for attention, who crave approval. The Sigma female moves differently. She doesn't seek permission. She doesn't explain herself. She simply exists on her own terms. People don't always understand her, and that's fine. She has no interest in explaining a mindset they were never built to grasp. What they call isolation, she calls evolution. She was never meant to follow the crowd. She was meant to outgrow it. But before I give you more signs today, let me request you spicy ladies to hit that subscribe button. If you love what I do, I bless your heart. Number 2, she's both shadow and light. Most people spend their lives running from their darkness, pretending it doesn't exist, or burying it beneath layers of forced positivity. They fear their own flaws, their anger, their past mistakes. They believe strength comes from appearing perfect, from showing only the side that the world finds acceptable. But the Sigma female doesn't live in illusions. She knows that real power isn't found in denial. It's found in full acceptance of who she is, both the light and the shadow. She doesn't suppress her darkness. She studies it. She knows that her anger, when controlled, becomes fuel. Her pain, when understood, turns into wisdom. Her solitude, once seen as loneliness, has become her strongest asset. She doesn't pretend to be something she's not, nor does she allow guilt or shame to dictate her growth. Where others see weakness, she sees raw, unfiltered potential. This balance is what makes her so unpredictable. She is kind but never naive. She is strong but never reckless. She can be soft when she chooses, yet she can be ruthless when necessary. People struggle to place her in a box because she refuses to live in one. She doesn't operate in extremes. She masters both, and that mastery makes her untouchable. Those who only embrace their light remain fragile, easily shattered the moment life tests them. Those who lean too far into darkness become consumed by it. The Sigma female walks between both worlds, using them as tools rather than limitations. This is what sets her apart. She is not just powerful, She is complete. Number 3. Her evolution never ends. She's in a constant state of growth. Most people reach a point where they stop growing. They settle into routines, cling to outdated beliefs, and resist change because it's uncomfortable. They peak once and spend the rest of their lives trying to hold on to that version of themselves, afraid to evolve into something greater. But the Sigma female refuses to stay the same. Stagnation is not in her nature. She is built to grow, to adapt, to keep sharpening herself, no matter how much she has already achieved. She sees every experience, good or bad, as raw material for her transformation. A setback doesn't break her, it forces her to level up. Betrayal doesn't make her bitter, it teaches her to move smarter. Failure doesn't humiliate her, it arms her with wisdom that success never could. She understands that real strength isn't about avoiding pain, but about using it as fuel. This is why she never stops refining her mind, her skills, her vision. While others cling to comfort, she steps into the unknown. While they resist change, she embraces it. She is never the same person for too long because she is constantly learning, shedding old layers, and stepping into a more powerful version of herself. Those who underestimate her today won't recognize her tomorrow. People fear what they don't understand, and the Sigma female's evolution is something they can't predict. She has never stuck in one mindset, one identity, or one way of living. She knows that the moment she stops growing, she stops living, and that will never be an option for her. Number 4. She's feared because she can't be bought, owned, or controlled. Most people are used to control, subtle or obvious, direct or manipulative. They rely on guilt, pressure, or expectations to keep others in check. They assume that with the right tactics, they can make anyone conform, compromise, or submit. But the Sigma female is the exception, the one they can't bend to their will. She is untouchable, not because she is defiant for the sake of rebellion, but because she answers to no one, and that terrifies people. In relationships, she does not stay out of obligation. Love to her is a choice, not a cage. She will not be emotionally manipulated, bribed with affection, or pressured into playing a role that does not align with who she is. If a partner tries to control her, she walks away without hesitation. She would rather stand alone in her truth than be trapped in someone else's expectations. In workplaces, she doesn't chase approval. She doesn't play office politics, doesn't entertain flattery, and doesn't conform just to keep the peace. She operates with competence and confidence, which unsettles those who rely on hierarchy and blind obedience. When they realize they can't control her through authority or empty praise, they resort to calling her difficult, arrogant, or intimidating. In social settings, she is immune to groupthink. She does not adjust her opinions to fit the crowd, nor does she entertain superficial dynamics just to be accepted. People who expect blind loyalty or silent compliance find her presence unnerving. They can't predict her, can't sway her, can't make her play along, and because they cannot control her, they fear her. She is not feared because she is aggressive, loud, or disruptive. She is feared because she refuses to be owned. No amount of money, power, or social pressure can make her betray herself. So they call her intimidating, not realizing that the fear they feel has nothing to do with her. It's their own powerlessness reflected back at them. Number 5. She learns and unlearns at an unparalleled speed. Most people cling to their beliefs, even when those beliefs no longer serve them. They hold on to outdated ideas, refusing to question them because change feels like an attack on their identity. They would rather be comfortable in ignorance than uncomfortable in growth. But the Sigma female has no interest in blind loyalty to old ways of thinking. She is not bound by tradition, social conditioning, or the opinions of those who refuse to evolve. She learns fast, but more importantly, she unlearns even faster. She is not afraid to challenge her own ideas if something no longer aligns with her growth. She discards it without hesitation. She doesn't waste time defending beliefs that no longer make sense or clinging to perspectives that limit her. Where others are stuck in cycles of outdated thinking, she is constantly upgrading her mindset, sharpening her perspective, and expanding her understanding of the world. This ability makes her unpredictable, and that unsettles people. They expect stability, routine, and a familiar way of thinking, but she refuses to be boxed in by expectations. She is not the same person she was yesterday, and she won't be the same person tomorrow. While others remain trapped in patterns of conformity, she moves forward, adapting faster than they can comprehend. She questions everything, even herself, and because of that, she is always steps ahead. The world fears those who cannot be controlled, and nothing is more uncontrollable than a mind that refuses to stay the same. Number 6. She's the ultimate threat to fragile egos. Most people expect women to soften their edges, to shrink themselves so others can feel bigger. They're used to flat, quiet agreement, to people playing along with their illusions of power. But the Sigma female offers none of that. She doesn't entertain fragile egos, doesn't stroke insecurities, and doesn't play dumb to make anyone feel comfortable. And that makes her a problem for those who rely on dominance and control. She sees through the facades, recognizes insecurity dressed as arrogance, manipulation disguised as leadership, and weakness hiding behind loud, empty confidence. She doesn't call it out directly. Her presence alone is enough to make insecure people uneasy. They realize they can't impress her with shallow displays of power, can't intimidate her into submission, and they certainly can't manipulate her into playing along with their games. This is where the struggle begins. Those who feel threatened by her strength take one of two approaches. They try to control her or they try to destroy her. They test her boundaries, looking for weaknesses, hoping to find a way to make her more manageable. When that fails, they resort to criticism, gossip, or outright hostility. But no matter what they do, she remains unmoved. She does not argue. She does not seek revenge. She does not explain herself. She simply continues existing in her own power, watching as their frustration grows. What they fail to understand is that their opinion of her is irrelevant. She does not need approval, validation, or permission. She does not fall for emotional traps or let insecurities dictate her path. And that is why she is dangerous to those who depend on controlling others to feel strong. She cannot be controlled, cannot be broken, and cannot be silenced. She's the kind of woman that fragile egos fear the most, the one who owes them nothing. Number 7. She becomes a living paradox, soft but untouchable. She exists in a space that few can define. One moment she is warmth, understanding, compassionate, and deeply intuitive. But the second someone mistakes that softness for weakness, they meet a version of her that is unshakable, untouchable, and entirely unbothered by their expectations. She is not one or the other. She is both. And that duality makes her impossible to predict, impossible to manipulate, and impossible to conquer. People struggle to categorize her because she doesn't fit into their simplified view of strength and femininity. They expect a woman to be either gentle or fierce, never both, but she proves that real power lies in the ability to embody both ends of the spectrum without contradiction. She can be soft when she chooses, offering wisdom, patience, and loyalty to those who deserve it. But the moment someone underestimates her, she reminds them that her kindness is a privilege, not a weakness. She is open but never exposed. She listens but reveals little. She can make someone feel seen and understood, yet remain entirely unreadable herself. While others seek validation through oversharing, she keeps her inner world protected. This leaves people fascinated, drawn to her mystery, yet frustrated by their inability to define her. She gives but only to those who give back. She forgives but never forgets. She moves with both grace and calculated precision, never allowing anyone to get close enough to destroy her. And while others exhaust themselves trying to figure her out, she continues moving forward, unbothered and unattached to their opinions. Her existence is a paradox, a balance of softness and steel, empathy and detachment, warmth and untouchability. And that makes her the one thing people fear and admire in equal measure, completely and utterly unstoppable. Number 8. She realizes she's no longer evolving. She's becoming unstoppable. There comes a moment when she realizes she's no longer just growing. She has arrived. She spent years refining herself, breaking cycles, unlearning lies, and sharpening her instincts. She has fought battles both internal and external, and emerged not just stronger but untouchable. The endless need to prove, to adjust, to mold herself into something better fades. Not because she's stagnant, but because she's reached a level of self-mastery where external forces no longer have power over her. She no longer reacts. She decides. She doesn't move based on fear, approval, or expectation. She moves because she chooses to. No longer bound by society's opinions or the need to explain herself, she acts with certainty, confidence, and absolute control over her life. People sense this shift. They feel the weight of her presence, the unshakable nature of her energy. She's not someone you push, manipulate, or mislead. She sees through it all effortlessly, dismantling illusions and staying 10 steps ahead of those who think they can outmaneuver her. The world no longer dictates her reality. She shapes it. Where she once adapted to fit into spaces, she now decides which spaces are worthy of her presence. Where she once fought to be understood, she now understands that most people will never reach her level of awareness, and that's fine. She no longer seeks growth for the sake of keeping up. She grows only when and how she sees fit. She has nothing to prove, nothing to chase, nothing to fear. She is no longer a product of her past, nor is she a prisoner of her future. She simply is. And in that being, she has become something few will ever reach: unstoppable. Number 9. She redefines femininity on her own terms. Femininity has long been defined by others, by tradition, by society, by those who believe a woman's power should be neatly packaged into something delicate and agreeable. They expect softness without strength, beauty without intelligence, confidence without dominance. But the Sigma female refuses to follow this outdated script. She does not conform to one-dimensional ideas of what a woman should be. She defines femininity for herself, bending it to fit her, not the other way around. She is both gentle and ruthless, compassionate yet calculated. She understands the power of softness, but wields it with intention. She is not kind out of obligation or submissive to be more likable. If she is soft, it is because she chooses to be. If she is fierce, it is because the situation demands it. She is not bound by extremes. She balances both, shifting effortlessly between them as needed. This ability makes her unpredictable. People expect women to be easily categorized, but she refuses to fit neatly into any box. She is not interested in proving herself to anyone, nor does she waste time arguing with those who cling to outdated beliefs about how she should behave. She moves through life on her terms, embracing a version of femininity that is unapologetically intelligent, strategic, and unbreakable. Her presence challenges those who are used to women who conform. She is proof that femininity is not a weakness, that strength and grace can coexist, and that a woman does not have to sacrifice power to be true to herself. She does not follow the rules, she rewrites them. And that is why she stands apart. Number 10. She's always 10 steps ahead. She moves in silence while everyone else moves in circles. She isn't the loudest in the room, nor is she the first to react. Instead, she watches, listens, and analyzes every conversation, every shift in energy, every minor detail. She absorbs it all, filing away information that others dismiss. While they speak without thinking, act without planning, and regret without reflection, she remains steps ahead, already anticipating the next move before anyone else realizes the game has begun. Her mind is wired for strategy. She doesn't just see what's in front of her. She sees the patterns, the motives, the underlying truths that others are too distracted to notice. When people lie, she catches the inconsistencies. When they manipulate, she recognizes the tactics. When they try to outmaneuver her, she's already calculated their next 3 moves and adjusted accordingly. It's not magic, and it's not luck. It's the result of years spent observing the world instead of mindlessly participating in it. Because of this, she rarely makes impulsive decisions. She never rushes into situations blindly, never reacts out of emotion, never plays her hand too soon. Her patience is her weapon. She waits, gathering information, letting others reveal their weaknesses, and when the time is right, she moves with precision, making decisions that seem effortless but are backed by an understanding others can't comprehend. People wonder how she always seems prepared, how she never appears caught off guard, how she walks through life with such confidence. They assume it's arrogance, but it's not. It's foresight. While they scramble to fix their mistakes, she's already adjusted her course. While they're stuck dealing with the consequences of their own recklessness, she's moving forward, untouched and unshaken. The difference between her and the rest isn't just intelligence, it's awareness. She plays the long game, and because of that, she rarely loses. Number 11. Society calls her cold, but it's just selective energy investment. People call her cold because she doesn't entertain nonsense, doesn't engage in unnecessary drama, doesn't react just to prove a point, and doesn't let emotions cloud her judgment. But the truth is, she isn't cold, she's precise. She knows exactly where to invest her energy and refuses to waste it on things that drain her. Her emotional intelligence is her shield. While others get caught up in manipulation, guilt-tripping, and deception, she sees through it all. She recognizes when someone is trying to control her through emotional outbursts, silent treatment, or carefully crafted sob stories. She can sense when words are meant to deceive rather than inform. She knows the difference between genuine emotion and performative theatrics, and because of that, she doesn't engage. She doesn't argue with people who twist narratives, doesn't defend herself against baseless accusations, and doesn't get pulled into power struggles disguised as relationships. This refusal to play the game unnerves people. They expect emotional reactions, expect her to be flustered, to break down, to fight back in ways they can predict. But she stays calm, detached, and in control. She responds only when necessary, and when she does, it's with intention. Her silence is often louder than their noise, her indifference more cutting than any insult. To the emotionally reckless, she seems unfeeling. To those who thrive on chaos, she seems heartless. But those who truly understand her know the truth. She isn't cold. She's simply unwilling to waste energy on anything that doesn't serve her. She's warm to those who deserve it, ruthless to those who test her, and indifferent to those who try to manipulate her. That's not coldness. That's wisdom. The evolution of the Sigma female isn't about becoming what the world expects. It's about becoming who she was always meant to be. She was never designed to fit into categories, follow the crowd, or seek approval. Every challenge she faced, every betrayal she endured, every moment of solitude was a step towards something greater, absolute self-mastery. She didn't evolve to be accepted. She evolved to be untouchable. The opinions of the world no longer shape her choices. She doesn't seek validation, nor does she waste time explaining herself. She moves on her own terms, guided by instincts sharper than most people's best advice. She doesn't force herself into spaces where she isn't valued. She creates her own and lets the right people find her. The world often misunderstands her, fearing what it cannot control, but she doesn't exist to make others comfortable. She exists to be the fullest expression of herself, whether people understand it or not. She is both shadow and light, wisdom and fire, softness and steel. She has mastered the balance between strength and solitude, power and grace, and because of that, she is unstoppable. For those on this path, understand this: evolution isn't about perfection. It's about becoming untamed, unshaken, and unapologetically you. The moment you stop seeking approval, stop explaining, and stop shrinking to fit into places that don't deserve you, you step into your full power. And once you do, there's no going back. The world doesn't get to define you, you define yourself. Stay true to yourself. To all the spicy ladies, make life beautiful, take care, and see you in our next video. God bless.